Hello horror hounds, welcome to my horror house. Last night I went to see the Pope's Exorcist and I confess I was absolutely suckered in by the novelty value of seeing Russell Crowe play an exorcist in a slick Hollywood bells and whistles possession movie. I am a fan of his current, let's try a funny accent, no shits given stage of his career. I thought his brief turn as Zeus in Thor Love and Thunder was one of the absolute bright spots in a fairly turgid movie, and I was absolutely fully signed up to watch Russell Crowe do a silly Italian accent and battle demons. As I messaged to one of my friends who came to see it with me before we went to go and see it, quote, "It's going to be an absolute pile of old shit and I'm going to love every single second of it." And I seem to have achieved the ability of foresight, prophecy, because so it was. I don't consider that ticket was money poorly spent, because I got what I wanted out of it. There's Russell Crowe as an exorcist, and there's the entire rest of the movie, which is another kettle of fish altogether. Russell Crowe plays, Christ, I've even forgotten his first name, Amor, a real life exorcist, and this film is supposedly based on his case files. So there's a flavour of the Conjuring to it, based on real events, based with a very tiny B, I would imagine. Anyway, there's a family and the young boy's possessed, yada yada yada. They try the doctors and they don't help, so they call upon the church, and the church, the Bishop of Rome, the Pope himself, sends his chief exorcist to investigate. And there's more to the case than meets the eye, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all before. And you really have heard and seen all of this before. There are huge lashings of William Friedkin's Exorcist in this. There are surprising notes of The Exorcist, the beginning, the prequel to The Exorcist, and little hints here and there, which were the most intriguing elements, which unfortunately the film didn't chase down or investigate or interrogate at all, of the Sin Eater, which is a rather delicious and sort of underappreciated, I feel, Catholic horror film sort of set in and around the Catholic Church. But I paid my money to watch Russell Crowe having fun, and I had fun watching him have fun, driving around on his little scooter, doing his Italian accent and his little strange character traits that elicited intentional laughter. There are a few moments of levity in here that are intentional, and towards the end of the film, in fact at the climax of the film, a couple of big guffaws from me that weren't, I don't think, intended to be that reaction from the filmmakers. It could have been something quite interesting. It gets involved a little bit into the nitty gritty of the theology, and I wish it had gone there further. There are factions within the Vatican, as you would expect, so there are a couple of sort of quasi-theological debates about the purpose of the church and the nature of evil, and I like all of that stuff. I think that's quite juicy. A little bit later on, when Father Amorth is digging into why this particular site, why this family and the like, he digs back and finds that the case is connected back to the history of the Vatican, and lots of old texts and scrolls and seals, Vatican seals and things like that, all of which I really dug, right up until the point that the plot seemed to excuse, quite breezily excuse, vast swathes of extremely questionable historical and recent behaviour by the church on the fact that they'd been infiltrated by demons. So it wasn't a nice priests after all. The church is good, and anything the church might have done that was antithetical to the teachings of Christ have got unfortunately not really their fault. It's all the demons, which leaves a slightly bad taste in the mouth, and then it just all explodes into an absolute miasma of nonsense with priests holding crucifixes like guns and shouting at demons and things like that. Utter bobbins. And I did appreciate it for going that bonkers at the end, because it needed to do something, because try as everyone might, and there's no one in this film that's bad. Unfortunately, the script they're reading from is absolutely derivative. To try as everyone might, there is nothing in this movie that you haven't seen dozens of times before, and I did leave wondering, why is it so difficult to do a possession film right? Is it just that The Exorcist is so good? There's like The Exorcist and everything else, and I'm including Exorcist 3 in that, which is an excellent film, the only other good Exorcist movie, and that film didn't even have an exorcism in it at first. The exorcism got done and tacked on in reshoots, and even that exorcism scene in Exorcist 3 is way too over the top. Audiences at the time when they went to go and see the original Exorcist were sort of blown away, I guess, by the excesses, the strange visual spectacle, and how far the needle is pushed with what's shown with regard to this possession. But it seems fairly like a freaking documentary now. It seems closer to documented cases of possession than these strange body contortions, computer graphic overlaid, crawling along ceilings nonsense that we get now. And yes, I know the ceiling crawling happens in Exorcist 3 as well. I can't work out where the rot set in with this, that an exorcism in a movie has to be all of these things. I haven't got round to talking about it yet, but I'm halfway through watching The Conjuring 3, and it starts off that movie with an exorcism that's straight out of this same playbook. I'm halfway through Conjuring 3, and I can't bring myself to watch the second half because, my God, they're all the same, and they're all bland, and they're all boring. And we've got new Exorcist movies coming around the corner soon from David Gordon Green. What on earth are we to make of those? Will they try something new and interesting? So there's nothing to recommend The Pope's Exorcist apart from the curiosity value of seeing Russell Crowe in this movie. He brings the value to it. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I saw the strange spectacle of Russell Crowe playing a Vatican exorcist. But the movie's not scary. It's overblown. It's derivative. It doesn't have anything interesting to say. And even when it skirts close to some really interesting subject matter to do with the Catholic Church, it very quickly skates away from it again. So I will end this review by recommending a different, much better, much less seen movie, The Sin Eater. I'd say see The Sin Eater way before you see The Pope's Exorcist. If you want something to watch when you're slobbed out on the sofa with some beer and some pizza and your partner or some friends, and you don't want it to challenge you, and you're quite happy to stick on a movie that you can shout at, then The Pope's Exorcist is absolutely that movie. Would absolutely be perfect for you. It's not horrible. it's just boring, unscary, and there's nothing original in it. I don't know why Russell Crowe did it, but I hope to God that this glorious phase of his career where he's doing these weird things continues for as long as he wants to do it, because I'll turn up to see him being weird in anything and any accent he wants to try. By the way, you'll see a lot in the reviews about his accent. He talks Italian a lot in this movie. I'm obviously not a native Italian speaker, but to my ears, he speaks Italian beautifully, and I have no issue with him attempting an Italian accent in English, just like I adored his Greek accent as Zeus in Thor: Love and Thunder. Mate, do all the accents. Hire Russell Crowe to be in your movies doing a different accent for each movie, and I'll turn up. But for a horror movie, for a possession movie, this is an absolute dud.
I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my